Cannabis sativa, a plant with a complicated reputation in many parts of the world. It's best known as the source of marijuana and hashish. But the tiny droplets of resin it produces also contain compounds with therapeutic properties. And that's bringing hope for growers across northern Morocco. The government has legalized cannabis production for the pharmaceutical industry, following decades of prohibition during which it was harvested and sold regardless.
I've been surrounded by cannabis since the day I was born. I'm almost 70 now, and I've been working with it all my life. The harvests are getting worse every year. I hope legalization will help small farmers like me.
This reenactment represents a typical scenario in the Rif Mountains of northern Morocco. A cannabis farmer negotiating the sale of hashish with a customer.
Sell that in Europe and you're bound to come back for more.
I'll take a lot. I need it all.
This isn't the same crap that's on the market these days. Smoking this stuff doesn't make you paranoid. This sample to test will be enough. Pure Beldia.
Pure Beldia?
With all the leaves and stems taken out by hand. You know that increases the price.
We got a deal?
All right.
To friendship.
Good luck to you.
To trust.
A typical transaction reenacted here to avoid putting anyone in danger. Late August in the Rif Mountains, and the cannabis fields are ready to harvest. Previously outlawed, cannabis farming was decriminalized in Morocco in 2021 for pharmaceutical uses. But the government's legalization program is struggling to get off the ground, attracting far fewer farmers than expected to sign up. Despite having permission to film, our crew are constantly being followed. We suspect some people are worried about us asking too many questions. The international market for legal cannabis has created lucrative new opportunities for growers. But Morocco has yet to become an established player. And reporters investigating why that is are not welcome. Isagan is the main city of the Katama region and a major hub of the illegal hashish trade. The law is not enforced consistently, with cases of less strict policing evidently the result of large-scale corruption. Isagan is a city characterized by deep social divides. While poverty is widespread, a small number of people make enormous profits, from big landowners to middlemen. Then there are the public officials pocketing a share for looking the other way, a situation that legalization should put an end to. Among the major producers is the Arabibes farm. The family is well connected politically and boasts vast land holdings, extensive irrigation, and well-trained staff. Ideal conditions for making money in the cannabis sector. With business booming, the owner is now rarely here, largely running operations from his villa in Tangier. Abdel Rahman is the company's harvest manager. The plants are cut in batches as they reach maturity. The timing is crucial as the active compounds are sensitive to the sun and can degrade under excessive heat. "28-year-old agricultural engineer Anis Khadoun is conducting research here for his doctoral thesis on cannabis. In return for the data collected, he uses his expertise in biotechnology to help optimize yields. Cannabis contains over 100 chemical compounds called cannabinoids. The best known is THC, which alters the consumer's perception, concentration, and sense of time. The tiny beads of resin on the flowers can produce feelings of euphoria, but also disorientation, restlessness, and anxiety. In contrast, another cannabinoid, CBD, has calming and anti-inflammatory properties, and without causing intoxication or a high. Its therapeutic potential is considerable, but research is still in its early stages.
Each mature plant has to be identified and harvested individually, which, given the size of the fields, is extremely labor-intensive. It involves a lot of people, which costs a lot of money for the farmer. And most people here are poor. This is an impoverished region that's long been neglected. Legalization is a good idea, and maybe it will change things, but it has to be adjusted to local conditions. Farmers need support.
Before signing up to the government legalization scheme, farmers have to become members of licensed cooperatives. We were shown a model example. The farmers deliver their harvest to the cooperative, where Yunus Shaoun oversees the storage of the cannabis before selling it to domestic companies licensed to export it.
The small leaves we remove. They could damage the plant, so we take them out. The plant doesn't need much water.
Beldia doesn't need much water, right?
It's very robust. I only watered it about 5 times in a whole year.
The entire production chain, from seed to exported product, is subject to strict regulations. Faisal El Hamid works for the government agency set up to monitor this new industry.
Can I have a look at your records?
The agency documents how much cannabis each farmer produces.
Now the warehouse, okay?
This particular warehouse contains around 700 kilos of cannabis from 11 farmers. The cooperative is one of around 350 across the country. Morocco is working to meet the stringent standards demanded by the pharmaceutical industry, especially on the hygiene and contaminant control front.
The farmers give us a sketch and topographical data on their fields, which we then enter into the system. I'm not an expert, but I'll try to explain how it works. I currently have the data from the local smallholder Walkadi, and using GPS, I'm going to compare that with the data on my tablet to see if the land is registered.
The strict regulations and inspections involved have put many small-scale farmers off joining the scheme. There is in any case widespread distrust of state institutions due to previous experience of corruption in arbitrary enforcement of the law. Legalization still has plenty of opponents, especially among those who profit from the illegal trade in the plant. The debate over going legal is one that has divided the El Morabit family. This modestly sized house is home to a family of 5. The father, Mohammed, has recently joined a cooperative. Until now, he sold his cannabis on the black market, well aware of the risk of being caught.
There was a time when we had to work in secret. But now they leave you alone, and you don't have to hide anymore. What's better, being constantly watched and being afraid, or having a decent life in peace without any pressure?
His son Nabil isn't convinced.
I don't see enough benefits. The law exists on paper, but where's the implementation? Those farmers who work hard deserve protection. They're still waiting to be paid for the harvest they've delivered to the cooperative. Farmers next door in the Tawnat region have demonstrated to get their money. They've sold their crops, but all they have is a receipt. They've been waiting for weeks and can't make ends meet. They can't buy cooking oil, sugar, clothes for their kids, or medication if they get sick. How are they supposed to get by? The law isn't implemented. Why isn't the new law being put into practice?
And the legal cannabis industry is struggling to take off. While farmers grow cannabis for the international market, exporters are struggling to find buyers. That's primarily due to non-compliance with the European pharmaceutical industry's high standards. But those problems could be resolved, says Mohammed El Morabit, if there were greater cooperation.
The cooperative sells our product on our behalf, and the same is true for all its members. So we're not competing against each other. The members support one another, and in the end, we share the profits, meaning more security for everyone.
The cooperative offers legal protection. We would prefer to go legal, or at least give it some consideration.
And you?
The law means protection.
It protects us, on paper at least. But waiting to get paid while we don't have the money to pay for medicine and other basic things is not an option. It doesn't add up financially. The plants are the only income we have. We need them to adjust the law so that we can cover our expenses. But legalization is definitely better.
Don't forget, we're still experimenting. It's bound to be difficult at the start. You know that.
After breakfast, the boss helps select the first plants for harvest. The resin containing those important active compounds also protects the crop from ultraviolet radiation, pests, and drought.
The tradition of cannabis farming was passed down from our forefathers. I grew up with it since I was a child. I've never known anything else. Tending to the plants and the fields, the land and the harvest. All of that has been normal life for me. It wasn't a big business back then, just enough to help farmers make a living. For 70 years now, Beldia has been my life. Today, the biggest challenges are drought and water shortages. Our harvests are shrinking, and if things continue like this, it won't be worth it anymore for local farmers.
And the alternative? The Rif Mountains region has little to offer when it comes to economic development. From higher education to reliable water and electricity supplies and, above all, jobs in industry.
It's all very hard. If we don't work, what are we supposed to live from? We work hard and have so much stress.
Growing other crops doesn't work. Cannabis is the only thing that grows here.
In fact, despite the poor soil quality and harsh climate, modern agricultural methods could enable other crops to be grown here. Except the income from cannabis farming is around 10 times higher.
It is very difficult. You worry about the workers, about harvests, about food. You are constantly thinking about whether you have enough or not. You take out loans, but the lender is always there waiting to be repaid. You have no way to pay the money back. It is so stressful, but we have no choice. I wish things could be different. I would have liked to travel and to have a house in the city. That's what we would like. But this is our life. We wish we had another option.
It's the middlemen who make the real money. They drive prices down by claiming the market is flooded with cannabis. They cheat the small farmers and profit twice over, from us and from the buyers. They're the ones putting the little farmers out of business.
This one needs a few more days until it's ready. The leaves are still delicate. We can't harvest just yet. It didn't get enough water. That's why it doesn't look as robust as the others. This one is ready. If we don't harvest it now, it'll start to wither.
Mohammed El Morabit chose to go ahead and register the farm as a legal enterprise against the wishes of his son, a decision that has strained relations between the two men and within the family.
My father is above me and is the head of the family. I have no say in what we do with the land while he's alive. That's how things work here. He's the owner and the only one who calls the shots. That has consequences for my future. If I imagine staying here and my father lives to the age of 80 or 90, and I remain under his authority for all that time, then I need to find an alternative for myself. And for Moroccan men like me, the only option is to head to Europe.
And there's no compromise solution. Once a farmer has registered as a legal supplier, there's no going back. Selling cannabis on the black market again would jeopardize everything.
The problem is that we live in a Muslim country. A son cannot rank above his father, and I could not accept my son doing something wrong. If Nabil leaves, I won't be checking whether he's selling on the black market or doing business legally. That's up to him. I raised him and am head of the family, so him taking my place would be unacceptable. And there's nothing more to discuss.
Resistance to legalization appears to run deep in Isagan. Those farmers who speak publicly in favor of the program complain of being put under pressure by others. And among them is Nabil El Morabit, here on his weekly visit to the city's main street market.
When I invite visitors to my home, from Europe or elsewhere, the police go to my neighbors and stir up suspicion and jealousy. They say I'm getting rich from the Europeans, making good money while other people remain poor. They threaten my neighbors and pressure them into reporting everything I do. The police officer gives everyone his phone number and encourages them to inform on me. And if I take my visitor to a cafe, he'll send an undercover colleague to sit at the table next to us and listen in.
While officially the restrictions on cannabis farming are meant to combat drug abuse, the law is in turn being abused by the authorities. People who keep their heads down will generally be allowed to continue growing the plant. But speaking out or not playing ball can soon result in prosecution for illegal cannabis farming. Since its original introduction, the ban became an instrument of intimidation and extortion in a region traditionally seen as rebellious and suspicious of the government.
That paranoia is prevalent throughout the north, and especially here in the Rif Mountains. The authorities and the local ruling families keep people down and trapped in poverty. This region is like a military dictatorship. As soon as I try to get ahead, I run into trouble. A competitor might go to the police and bribe them, making up a story to get me in jail. That's how the wealthy get rid of competitors.
Living in constant fear creates a culture of silence in which people are reluctant to speak openly or to trust anyone.
The feeling of solidarity we used to have is gone, even within families. It's everyone for themselves.
Mohammed's decision to go legal was a risky one. Most other farmers prefer to wait and see how things develop. He spends most of his evenings in his favorite cafe, in the company of trusted friends who, like him, have watched the old community spirit gradually erode.
People used to have each other's backs. If another farmer was in trouble, we'd help them. Say if they needed money for medication or support after a death in the family. Whatever the issue was, we'd resolve it ourselves. But more recently, there's been growing distrust. The arrival of new seed varieties has added to that by making us competitors with each other. Nobody feels they have enough, and everyone wants to expand and acquire more land from others, using money and connections to the authorities. That's the big problem today. You can't expect to get any help from the authorities. They're not interested in people living in poverty. I'm tired of living outside the law like this, always looking over my shoulder, and being scared of my neighbors or even my own family inventing stories about me behind my back. People sit around talking about smoking hash and about the good old days. But those days are over.
To mark the end of our trip, we organize a little party with food and a local music band. But apart from the children, nobody seems to be in the mood to celebrate. This is a community struggling under the weight of hardship and conflict, family tensions, and a sense of injustice. A community scarred by decades of living with insecurity. For the younger generation who have never known things differently, corruption and isolation are part of everyday life. Legal cannabis farming may hold the promise of a better future, but there's still a long and rocky road ahead.